figured we'd just start with
All
how we got
righty.
here. So I think we're good now, Laura.
Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Fox, for
Sure
joining
thing.
us. And it is 7:02, and my name is Laura Janes. I am chairman of this nice board, this committee. And can we do introductions, please, to my right? You'll remember.
Tracy McGraw.
I'm Maureen Hall, Senior Representative.
Christine Lavoie, Vice Chair.
Michelle Creswell, Member and Secretary.
And I want to thank you all for making the effort to come out on this Wednesday night. So thank you for this one item. But would you like to start, Matt?
Is it good for you?
Yeah, sure. I'm here. Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Did you want to review this with Matt, or because most of us have the update? Or sorry,
Sure.
I don't have a copy, but you can certainly look at it. Thank you. Yeah.
So it looks like Matt's got a brief PowerPoint for you,
Correct.
but I'll give a brief introduction.
Thank you.
As many of you probably know, the town council has made it a focus of theirs to improve the look and feel of Watson Park and really start to make it look like the town center jewel that it can and should be.
Absolutely.
With that said, Matt's going to show you some pictures that show a different picture, and there's been some reports, through the years and continuing into this summer, where cars are going beyond the parking area, basically driving anywhere they want in the park. So recently I was asked to come up with some different proposals for how can we solve that problem. And the easy answer, of course, is fencing of some sort. So what I did is I prepared a memo for you folks and for the town council. I believe they're discussing it tomorrow night. Just with some ideas of what's possible and what we've done at other parks. And I think what Eileen is hoping for is that you as a committee will make a recommendation of A, do you want to fence that in? And B, if so, what type of look do you want for Watson Park? So I think
Thank
that
you.
summarizes it pretty
Quickly.
quickly, and I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
So this first slide here is obviously down on the banks of the Sauhegan. Now, picnic tables are not normally there, and they're not supposed to be there, but obviously probably some industrious individuals either drag them down or they use their vehicles to bring them down, because those are not light picnic tables. But you can see, obviously, it's all there. This is the weekend after 4th of July when these were taken. And, it's just trash everywhere. Became
So
a
that
party
I'm not
scene.
looking at a fire pit then. All that trash.
Yeah, well,
Oh, and
it's
well,
a whole
I'm
lot
glad
of
they didn't
everything.
think of it.
This is more just
Oh,
pictures along the
no.
river, just dumping grounds and, whatever. As Kyle said, we've got we've got people driving wherever they feel like. And so the thought from the town manager and the town council, again, is obviously to fence it off. And so she had tasked Kyle with coming up with some numbers and what those things look like. And so first, before we get to the numbers, I guess we'll talk about, this was in the memo that I had forwarded to you guys by email, but kind of shows basically the outlining the existing lot. On the bottom side of the picture, right here, obviously there would be gate, just pass-through openings wide enough for a person, but not wide enough, and handicapped accessibility, but not obviously wide enough for a vehicle.
Okay.
And then on the top end, we'd have a more permanent, those are steel gates, so that DPW can get in there, obviously, to mow the lawns or, those types of things. But it keeps everybody else out. It's a little hard to tell from this picture, but right here is where the existing kiosk is and the porta potty is, which is why the fence doesn't connect all the way through. So that's the thought. I'll throw in my 2 cents at this point just because I'm talking right now. My only thought is I know we've had some days where that lot's already filled, and particularly this past winter when you had the restaurant from across the street was telling people to park over there.
Oh.
The fire department sometimes parks over there when they're doing training. When we start adding other amenities to this park, like the skating rink next winter, is that going to create another problem? And so my only thought is whether we look at expanding another I don't know, 20 feet or what, try to get another 20 spaces, even if it's only on one side or something, and I don't know your thoughts on that, Kyle, but, just to think ahead as we kind of continue to develop this park.
I was thinking the same thing, Matt, and it was gonna be one of my questions is, before we go ahead and put a permanent fixture in here for that, do we wanna look at the growth that we're experiencing and then fence it in?
It's certainly a wise idea to. You may recall the Conservation Commission couple summers ago partnered with us, and we redid their parking lot on Amherst Road for Horace Hill because they outgrew that. And maybe the same thing has happened at Watson Park. The existing parking lot is outgrown, probably. I will say that every parking space you add, you can add 8 to 10 feet in width.
Okay.
So for 20 spaces, you're talking
Another
100 feet.
Yeah. Do we have the room there to
Is it,
do that, or?
in addition, could you, similar to what you did at Horse Hill on Amherst Road there, make it a little wider and a little bit longer, and then we'd have the ability possibly to put in a center row when the parking? Is that an option here? Do we think that might work, instead of just going longer?
For me, anything is possible.
I like it.
Whatever the desire of the park representatives and the town council want, we could do. And I think if it's something you want to look at, I can draw up some different concepts, certainly, and give you an idea of how much more space you're going to lose park-wise. I think given the current layout, the easy thing to do is simply extend it the long wise, because that's really the unusable part of the park. And there's no grass there pretty much at this point.
Sorry. Michelle, did you have a
Did you
comment?
happen to say, did I miss about how many cars that fits right now?
You know, I didn't do a count. Sorry
Sorry.
about that.
It's probably in the 40 to 50 range. I'm
So
guessing.
each of those dots is 10 feet apart, so.
Okay.
So that's almost one car in the sense, right? Yeah.
So probably 30 cars.
Sure. Just
Yeah,
for a rough idea, right? We're looking at this, but
yep.
maybe it's
So,
big enough, maybe it's not.
right now it's
But-
Right,
probably
that's what
30
we're saying,
cars.
yeah. We're questioning.
Really?
Yes, Tracy, did you have something to add, please?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm assuming that the parking lot that we're seeing with the car in it, is that behind that law firm that's there, Gaumont?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. So behind that is all still part of Watson Park?
correct.
Do we have anything over there, anything formally over there that we're using as far as like park services, whether it's picnic tables, grills, nets or anything like that?
Good question.
Not currently.
So would it be, and I'm not saying just as a hypothetical, would it be possible then to literally open up that entire side as parking? Not expand on, as you're looking at the picture, the lower side, don't expand on that side, but expand on the upper side and a little bit out as well.
So the big constraint so up is north in this picture.
Okay,
So the big constraint kind of to the north and west is you see where Matt's cursor is right there?
Yes.
Those little pieces of granite there, that's actually a catch basin structure.
Yep.
And right behind there, there's a pretty steep hill
okay.
that leads up to Gaumont's property. So you're kind of constricted by the hill on that side.
And we're not allowed to dig. I saw that in the paperwork
Yeah.
that,
Correct.
that Laura had.
Yeah.
There's no digging allowed past 2 feet. So basically, our stoppage point would be that,
Hill.
that water grate thing that Matt was pointing out with the cursor. That would be the stoppage point.
As I mentioned, anything is possible. We do have, so the 2-foot digging thing. The park is under what's called an administrative use restriction, an AUR, and that's a document that DES required before the town took the park over. And what it does is it limits the uses of the park. And one of the requirements of the AUR is that if you have a need to dig deeper than 2 feet, it can be done, but it has to be done within the context of an approved soil management plan.
Okay.
We have an approved soil management plan to do this fence project to add the water line, should the council approve that project, to put in the volleyball court and the skating rink. So we do have an approved soil management plan to do those projects, should the town council move forward.
But all that is coming on the south side. The
That's
volleyball net
actually-
and the ice skating rink?
Those are the proposal that the town council discussed during budget season last year was, as you go to the northeast along that access road, and then, so the property directly to the north, or if you bring the GIS up, it'll show the shape of the parcel.
That's a pretty picture, Matt, but I don't think that's the right one.
Can I ask, my question is, there's a house there too,
There is.
and you don't want to be putting a parking lot. I deal with it all the
Yeah.
time with the courthouse. A parking lot almost to the backyard of those people.
Right.
And if you do that, you really need to put a fence, a privacy fence. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I think that's an
That
awful
sounds
thing to do to a person.
That's
That,
fair.
you know.
And that's one of the phases of this
Abs-
project.
Right.
So once the town council discusses which direction they want to go, Assistant Town Manager McCallie and myself and Public Works, we're actually going to have public meetings with the abutters to the park
Oh, good.
and kind of discuss what's being proposed, get their input, just like we do on all of our projects, whether it's a bridge project, road project. Get the public input
Sure.
before final decisions are made, because ultimately, as you suggest, they're the ones that are going to be living with it in their backyard.
And they have to put up with. They have to put up what's going on now too. I mean,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Parking, those
that
crazy
was always a
people down there.
consideration.
Absolutely.
I didn't hear you say that.
You didn't?
And haven't they, they've done quite a bit of improvement on their house too, right? A couple.
It's a
yeah.
brand new house.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
tore
no.
down the old.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that was consideration for the dog park. way
So yeah, you see
That
the
area.
house that says 5D4 68-1.
Yeah.
So that kind of juts out into Watson Park.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Unfortunately, our GIS happened before. The pictures are from 2005.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's before the parking lot was there, but you can kind of see it's in that same gravel area
Yeah.
off of Daniel Webster. So the park is big up front, then it kind of bisected a little bit by that one property with the new house, and then the property goes kind of further to the back, which, as Jane mentioned, that's where the dog park location had been considered. And it's in that area where I believe the town council is leaning towards putting the volleyball and the skating rink,
That's was my thinking, yeah.
kind of right there, yeah.
So basically what we're looking at then, it does look easier with the satellite view. What we're looking at for possibly expanding parking is right about where the cursor was. Right in that area and a little bit to the north of that is be the expansion that we're talking about, since the rest of it's going to be taken up with the volleyball nets. And so
Correct.
right in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grab the mouse for a second.
Any more thoughts or ideas or discussion? Any other possibilities?
He's creating.
Oh, he's measuring. Oh, wow.
So approximately, I would say that's probably the existing parking area,
Okay, wow.
that red line.
Interesting.
Maybe a little less than that.
Well, it's
So somewhere in that ballpark.
Right, but
Well,
there's still room to go back a
There
little
is.
bit north, and if you go a little bit south, you might still be able to accomplish all that. I don't know, gotta do something.
Yeah, oh, no,
Yeah.
something has to be done. That's why we're here this
Well, the
evening.
trouble is, if you don't have parking, even though we run out of grass, nobody's gonna go because no place to park. So it's like, what do you
Like,
do,
if
right?
you limit it, yeah, you shoot yourself in the foot kind of thing, yeah.
Right.
But the inverse is true too.
True.
If there's too much parking and there's not enough grass, there's no point in going there either. So,
But you're not gonna go, so we don't have
Yeah, but I think if they expand it out and maybe wider or whatever's decided, it's still gonna be a benefit because that whole front section is rather big and wide. And I think, where does the, where does the tree line, they planted trees in there too.
Yeah, the trees are
The
kind of on
sticks. The sticks.
the sticks are gone. The trees are on the west side of the property along Daniel Webster.
Right.
And there's a couple that are in the park itself
Yeah,
that are doing well.
well, I mean, transplant it, I guess.
I will say the most economical use of space for parking
Yep,
is to keep it contained to the 2 aisles like it is now.
yep,
Because basically the way parking goes, parking spaces are basically 10 by 20.
Correct.
And the aisle itself is 20 feet.
yeah,
Right.
So to add that second aisle, you lose not only the 20 or 40 feet.
yep,
If you do like we did at Horse Hill and put head-to-head parking, that's 40 feet plus 20 feet for the extra aisle. So it really
it's
takes up
big.
space
It's
quickly.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
how,
a little more up to date, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the fence line on the old house, you can see where the property line is.
Yeah, yeah.
The fence line is pretty close to there.
so it doesn't look like we'd be able to extend it too far? Is that what you're saying?
Probably go, you know,
No, the-
extend out this way, because again, this is mostly just dirt, there's not grass
Yeah,
growing.
it's,
Right,
That's where the
Rubble.
railroad tracks
Yeah,
were.
right.
but it might obviously be tougher to go up here or out this way, you know.
Where was the vandalism? Where did the tables end up? Down
It
in?
was all basic, well,
Yeah.
it's hard to say, it was basically all down
Right,
in
and
here.
there, okay.
yeah. We're gonna chain those down, is that where
Yeah,
plan
well,
is?
yeah, and we've talked about that too.
Yeah.
We had that issue at Veterans Park in the past as well.
Right,
They would turn them over and slide them down the hill.
nice.
It's good fun.
Well, they moved the one at Wildcat Falls too, a
Yeah.
few months ago.
It's a busy night at Veterans, too. Well, obviously, something has to be done. Do we have a motion or an idea of how to do this, or what do we want to do, Matt?
Talk about just types of fencing, your pricing and.
Sure.
Yeah, you want to go over what you handed us? Would be great. No, I don't need it. I've looked at it. You guys can handle it.
So in the memo we had worked on, I included some pictures of the fencing that's at Bishop Field, which is the one by the middle school
Yep.
on Madeline Bennett Drive. This style fencing is also at Veterans Park and some of our other parks as well. It's kind of the standard fence that
Yeah,
dates back to when we
that's
had a
what we
Parks
wanna see.
Maintenance Division. And we continue to use that style as our primary fencing. It's durable, it's economical,
Blends
and it's
in.
simple.
Yep.
It keeps it a standard for every park, too. It looks nice.
Exactly.
It looks nice with our
It does.
signs, with the signs and the fencing.
Yep. Watson Park, maybe it's different because it's not an athletic field. These are all athletic fields, and maybe you or the town council want something different because it is in the town center. It's not an athletic field. So we looked at some other options. I didn't necessarily make pictures of them, but
I took a picture over here of Abby Griffin
Oh,
today
good.
because I thought of it, but.
yeah. So of course but I did price some different styles.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
So for the Watson project, doing our standard rail fence would be probably just under $6,000.
Right,
And that's with us doing the labor. Other choices are a 4x4 two-rail fence where you would have wooden posts with the 4x4s kind of on the diagonal, kind of a classic New England style. We could also do that and put a vinyl covering on it, which, white is really the classic New England. We like the idea of vinyl if we're going to do that, so we don't have to continue to paint it year
Yeah.
after year.
Right,
By the same account, you could do the same style with granite posts, which is really a wonderful look. Obviously, that gets a little more pricey.
sure does.
That gets you, so the second option was 7,000 with just the wood, 12,000 with the vinyl. Doing it with granite, 15,000 and 20,000 with the
Right,
vinyl.
Right.
The cheapest option, and in my opinion, the ugliest option would be a vinyl coated chain link fence. Certainly easy to install. We would get a company to come in and do that. And that one's 9,200 installed. And that would look similar to the fence that's on the south end of the property.
Oh,
Um,
right.
Or at the
Or the
dog park.
dogs.
Yep.
Dog park.
So that's the vinyl coated chain link fence. But there are other options too. You
Right.
could do granite posts with the big heavy black chains. That's kind of a classic look. So there's lots of different alternatives.
But there's no
And
issue with the digging of the posts, et cetera?
There isn't. We
Okay.
already have
You've already
permission
got
for
the
that.
permission to do that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So here's this is what's at Abbey Griffin right here.
Right. Oh, okay, right.
Just, what do they call that again?
So that's kind of a takeoff of both of the middle items on the chart, only with vinyl coated posts instead of either wood or granite.
Right. All terrain though, type of all weather? I mean, does
Yes.
it do pretty well with all the
Yeah.
different weather? Okay.
Now, the one you saw there, it looks like, and I can't say for certain, but you can see the bend in the post. My guess is those are hollow posts.
They are.
So they're obviously less durable. Somebody, if they wanted to, could easily drive their car through it. I think some of the folks that we have visiting our park that are leaving the trash like we see wouldn't think twice about going through a fence like that.
Needs to be a little bit more durable.
I think so, yeah.
Especially right in the center of town, I think that will probably affect the decision. It's not like out in the other remote places.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I would advocate for, if we're going to do that style, to get the actual 4x4s and put the vinyl coating over it.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as it's in the center of town.
Yeah, we want it to look nice. Tracy?
I'm going to throw something out there just because we're looking at every possibility, right? So, one of the things that we did over at the dog park, Chris primarily did over at the dog park, was get very large granite boulders. And the purpose of it was to keep, well, to keep the plow guys from plowing our fence down. But the purpose of it is really to kind of block the parking lot so people know where to stop. And also it protects the fence because obviously that's pretty expensive. Now, any mischievous person can also use some form of a lever and move those as well. There might be some way to put them down and to be able to hold them, but that is that even something that sounds feasible given the amount of I guess, lineage that we would be putting this down?
It is feasible, but you're exactly right. If you did that, that's footage that you lose. There's other options. We've all seen parking spots that, parking lots that have the curb stops, either the granite or concrete curb stops to
I can
keep
see them
people-
going right over that.
right.
Yeah, 4-wheel drive.
Those are, we don't love those as the folks that maintain them in the winter.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're awful to plow around. But that's certainly something we can consider.
And do we have signs that say no motorized vehicles past this point, or no unauthorized vehicles past this
I don't
point?
think there are currently.
So we might want to put those signs up. Is that something that would be an idea? At least let people
Signage, yeah,
know that they
absolutely.
can't drive past that. Because a 4-wheel drive, or not 4-wheel drive, a 4-wheeler would be able to get through that second fence, and a 4-wheeler might even be able to get through the 5-foot openings that you have for pedestrians.
Where's the four-wheeler gonna come through though? Down the street?
Well, if it's in town, it's possible.
That's true.
If we go with the smaller two at this point, and we want to expand, would that impact what we decide now? I mean, affect?
Not
It-
tremendously, no.
Okay, so it wouldn't be that
So
difficult to
if you decide to
expand.
expand longitudinally,
Right,
all you're relocating is the posts at the
the,
end.
the end, okay, yeah.
It's work, but it's not
Correct.
like you're ripping out the
Right,
long
the
side.
whole thing, and, yeah.
Would you want to move the kiosk further down or move it?
Yeah,
to
if
the
we
side?
put more parking in, we'd relocate the kiosk at the same time.
I think it would be a good idea to add the parking spaces and possibly do we think we need another quote to determine the fencing so it gives options going to the town council, or,
Well, I think he's got them there.
well, no, I'm talking with
Oh.
the expansion,
Oh,
if we were to expand the lot, how much
Mhm.
more would that add to the cost, depending on what fencing we choose? Obviously, we want something sturdy, so the solid wood with vinyl is something I would
Yeah.
definitely recommend.
Yeah.
Chain link would look too industrial, so that wouldn't look pretty.
And if the kiosk is moved up, almost to, I don't know, where, I don't know.
Closer towards the entrance as
Yeah.
opposed
Probably
to.
towards the entrance.
Yeah.
Then you can add those rules and
Yep.
the no motorized and.
Or just move it to the side and put another sign saying, up front, saying, no motorized vehicle beyond the fence, blah.
Now,
It's,
granted, signage doesn't
Necessary.
deter it. I mean,
No.
look at Wasserman Park. I've got no parking signs 3/4 of the way around the community
Yeah,
garden,
yeah.
and everybody parks at the garden.
Oh, yeah.
Because they can't walk 25 feet from the parking lot.
Right,
So-
right. Well, didn't, was it the police chief that came, or one of the officers that came in and suggested, that it's always good to have that signage there, so it gives them something to speak to
Right.
if there are issues? So if we have that sign there, that would make their job a little bit easier, maybe.
Yeah. And it might be. I want to say it is, but I'd have to go back and check. I haven't.
is
Seems
this
like there would
is
be.
this the first incident that we've had in a while, or has it, I mean, you would think in the center of
No,
town.
it's constant.
It is constant?
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of, yeah.
Every weekend, cars are down there.
No, right at
And
the
every
water's edge.
Monday, every Monday, we're down over the
Well, then,
banking
here
cleaning
we
up
are.
people's trash.
Okay, well, that's,
Really?
okay, that's disappointing.
It is.
It's especially in the center where we were hoping for the visibility, that the, police would see it. I don't want to put in cameras, but,
Right.
no, people don't care. Yeah, they don't care. They need to care about that.
what their houses look like.
Right.
Anything to add, Corey, over there? You're quiet.
Just kind of taking things in.
Sure.
Yeah, I understand,
No, it sounds like, I think it would be good, whatever we choose, we should definitely choose this type of fencing that will be relatively easy to modify if we do decide that we
Correct.
want to add spaces.
Right.
Yeah, my question was already answered, but it was definitely to see whether this was a constant problem or whether this was something that just, over the 4th of July weekend, people get a little more ambitious, they want the picnic tables down by the river rather than where they actually are.
Yeah, yeah.
So seeing this as a constant problem is definitely something we need
Absolutely.
to address.
Absolutely. Huh.
Wow.
Can I make the motion, or
You
does
can make
somebody
the
want?
motion.
I can? Thank you, Tracy, yeah. I think, is there any more discussion about, and any questions for Kyle or Matt over there? Okay, Tracy, go for it.
I would like to make a motion to, obviously ask for an update on the cost if we're gonna add
Mhm.
the parking spaces. I think we talked about 8,
Yes.
10.
Was that the number, 10 spaces?
8 to 10.
but going out longitudinally, in other words, just to continue out exactly the path, to add the 10 parking spaces and to use the 4x4 2-rail fence with the vinyl coated rail.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Well said, yep. Yes.
What, did we, yeah,
Oh, well,
was it an exact
she's
number?
taking the motion.
Yeah,
What Kyle presented, plus 10 more spots, right? That's what we're saying?
Yes, thank you.
whatever you think you can get in there, right?
Well, it's the similar look to what's in.
Whether it ends up being 8, 10, but we're saying,
And we're advisory, I mean, it's really
Yeah,
up to
right.
the
I just
town
wanna
council, but I think they should
capture
know that
something.
the expansion would be nice if we could do it all at once.
It makes sense,
4x4
yeah.
and white coating.
Make it as big as possible,
moving
going
the-
out that way.
And moving the key, and moving the, right, and moving the kiosk should make and posted signs.
You want me to second?
Sure. Oh, Maureen,
Oh, you
beat ya.
did? Okay.
Now,
I
would you,
didn't hear
if I
you.
can jump in, is that wood
Please.
posts or granite posts?
I think would be reasonable.
I like granite, but that's okay.
Well, that adds, yeah, I like
It's a
granite too,
cost.
but it adds a substantial
Yeah.
cost to it.
Granted, fine. It's the church, go look
I
at the
understand.
church cemetery, that's
I
what
know.
that looks like.
Exactly right.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
I don't know, I like things that
Any other comments or questions or, okay, we
think
have a
so.
motion with a second. All those in favor? Signify
Aye.
by saying aye, and we have 6-0-0.
Right.
All those, yeah, it's moved. The motion
go.
passed, the motion passed. I'm so good at this.
So I have one more question.
Absolutely.
Do we need to talk about or to make a motion with respect to the signs? Because I don't know if I heard what Chris said, and I think it's
We'll
right.
make it
But from a
separate.
legal standpoint,
Mhm.
you want to make sure that, yes, signs don't stop anybody, just like pieces of paper don't stop anyone.
Okay.
But providing them with notice, then
Oh,
when
yeah.
they break
Then we're
it,
covered.
Yeah,
Right.
we
The
can just
police
do
have-
that. We don't need a.
Okay.
motion to-
Okay.
okay.
I'll check
Thank you
it
for
tomorrow.
clarifying that. Yeah, okay. Thank you, though.
Fine.
You're good at that.
Um,
We're all learning. This is a fairly new group. We're full. We usually have a full.
yeah. They are
It's on the agenda for tomorrow night. Yeah.
They have not asked me to attend, so I don't know yet. That we have a department head meeting in the morning though, so they may ask me to tomorrow. We'll see. All right, we'll do. Yep. All right, sounds good. And if you can give me the updated, if you can work
Yeah.
out what the updated
Yeah.
cost would be,
That'll
then
be easy.
I'll send Eileen a memo in the morning or give it to her at the meeting, and
Yep.
and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll second.
Favor? Yep,
Aye.
we're out of here. And okay, I'll see you next month, friends at home, August 15th on Wednesday. Thank you for coming, everybody. If you have questions, visit the wonderful website.